Galactus has been cast in Fantastic Four.
Gollum's getting a spin-off.
Disney and Warner Brothers are bundling their services together.
And of course, this week's box office.
All of that and more on this week's episode of the Movie Nights Roundtable. Hello, good sir. How are you today?
Good. How about you?
I'm
We're
great.
recording on a Monday.
I know.
I feel very thrown off.
I'm extremely thrown off. And the only good news out of this is that the box office numbers are final. So there you go.
And the other good news about this is, of course, no stories drop on a Monday.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, okay. So for those of you wondering what that's about, we record Sundays, show comes out Tuesday. Something always drops on a fucking Monday.
Yep.
And we're like, damn it. Like, we can't, just with our schedules, we both have full-time jobs. We just can't record on Monday normally, except for today. And so it's like, oh, if something drops on Monday and it's huge news, we either have to make like a quick Zoom video about it or do something, but it's always annoying. And of course, when we realized, oh, we're going to film on a Monday, I was like, oh, that's good, because whatever like last minute story drops today, like we can put it in. And there was one that's kind of interesting, but it's interesting to us, you know, like it might not be interesting to everyone.
Yeah, it's not like big news. Like,
yeah, it's not like earth shattering stuff.
Watch next Monday, it'll be Kevin Feige steps down from Marvel,
it'll be like a huge
huge
thing. Yeah, crazy. But with that being said, Nicholas, what first story do you have for us today?
Our first story comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter, and it's a follow-up to a story that we talked about a while back.
Yep.
Which is that Kevin Costner was leaving Yellowstone, and that there was this whole sort of contract dispute that occurred due to his filming commitments for his movies that's coming out this year. What was it? American Saga, Horizon and American Saga.
Yeah.
Well, now that he's doing press for the movie, he's become a little more open about exactly what happened with Yellowstone.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll let you take it from here.
Yeah, so Kevin Costner is firing back at Paramount and Taylor Sheridan. As Nick mentioned before, the story way back when was Taylor Sheridan basically saying that Kevin Costner's done on Yellowstone because he wanted to make movies and not stick to the schedule that he had committed to as the lead star of the TV show. And that's really kind of all we heard about it. Well, new information, at least from Kevin Costner, has come to light, and it kind of puts things into a new perspective. I'm going to take from The Hollywood Reporter here, who is taking from Deadline, just to let you know. Quoting Costner here, I haven't felt good about it the last year, and with the way that they've talked about it, it wasn't truthful. So now I'm talking about a little bit about what the real truth of it was. I made a contract for seasons 5, 6, and 7 in February after a 2 or 3 month negotiation. They made another contract. They wanted to redo that one. And instead of seasons 6 and 7, it was 5A, 5B, and maybe we'll do 6. They weren't able to make those. Horizon was set in the middle, but Yellowstone was first position. I fit Horizon into the gaps. They just kept moving their gaps. Things imploded. You've been reading one version of what happened for a year and a half. I left my movie to be on time for them for season 5B. I left exactly when they wanted and it made it very hard on me. It turns out they didn't even have the scripts ready for season 5B. They needed 4 more days just to complete the first 8 episodes. I left early to give them what they needed to have a complete 8, and I felt bad that the audience didn't get 10. They didn't have the scripts for anything else. So essentially what Kevin Costner is saying here is, I did exactly what they told me to fit in my movie with their schedule. They just weren't ready, and I stuck to what they had originally told me. Which does, if it's true, does put things in a new light. It definitely makes Kevin Costner seem way less shitty than he seemed at the beginning of this whole thing. What are your kind of thoughts on this whole thing, and do you think the truth maybe lies somewhere in the middle?
Well, what's also interesting is, like, later on it says that he offered to work an extra week if needed on Yellowstone, and then that got twisted in the media to, oh, Kevin Costner only says he's willing to return for a week.
Right,
like,
yeah.
You know, just stuff like that. I mean, listen, it's a hard thing when you have a show like Yellowstone that is, it's a massive show, one of the most watched TV shows.
It's one of the most popular shows on TV.
It's massive. Yeah. You know, so naturally you want to crank those out as quickly as possible. To maintain that audience.
Yeah.
And when you have someone who's as big of a star like Kevin Costner, who's also doing these things on the side, you know, he wants to do his projects as well. Horizon's a very big passion project for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like he was, from the context of him saying it and, you know, the truth being in the middle, you know, it seemed like he was really trying to make everything work. And he's like, I had the gaps, it fit, it's what we agreed to. And then they shifted, but he's like, but it's the biggest show in the world. So, like, you kind of have to, like, you know, it seemed like he was trying to play ball as much as he would allow, but, you know, a schedule is a schedule, and I get some things happen, but when you're booking yourself that much, where you're like, no, I have the gaps here to do this,
Yeah.
it sucks.
Yeah.
But
my guess is the truth lies somewhere in the middle of what Taylor Sheridan says and what Kevin Costner says. Because, according to Sheridan and Paramount, Costner was just very abrasive when it came to the schedule for Yellowstone and how much they needed him for, and that he wanted to make his movies even though he was contracted. And he's saying, like, no, they gave me a schedule. I stuck to it on my end. They just didn't stick to it on theirs.
Yeah.
I feel like somewhere in the middle is...
But he wasn't saying how much he was trying to get cut out and all that kind of stuff.
And I feel like somewhere in the middle is probably they had a schedule. They worked it out. Something came up where they had to make a change, and they let Costner know, hey, there's a slight change here. Let's work with you. And Costner was like, hey, I'm sticking to my end of the agreement. I understand stuff happens, but this is the agreement that I made.
I'm literally here filming a thing because I'm not contractually obligated to be here.
Yeah. And then vice versa. I'm sure whenever he came back and they weren't ready, he, by not having the lead star of the show there, probably created more scheduling issues that he probably wasn't kind of being the best about, it being like, wow, like I came back and you guys aren't ready, which he has a point about, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But it definitely just goes to show that this was a whole lot messier and not just a one-sided thing.
Yeah.
This was very much a damned on both sides kind of situation.
I think he took a good approach, though, of really keeping out of it for as long as he did, because that was like a year ago that we talked about that.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Very long time ago.
Yeah. But what do you guys think? Who do you think is right on the situation, Kevin Costner or Taylor Sheridan and Paramount? Do you even care about this drama? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next story. And Nicholas, what do you got for us next?
Our next story comes to us from IndieWire, of all places, actually. Now, here's a real underdog story. Peter Farrelly is set to direct a film inspired by the story of how Sylvester Stallone came to make his seminal 1976 boxing film, Rocky. Yes,
so there's a lot of interesting stuff about this story. On the concept of making a movie about the making of Rocky, I think that is a great fucking idea. Mm-hmm. One, because it's one of the best, most iconic movies ever made. Won Best Picture when it came out. And the actual story behind it, the movie being called I Play Rocky, is a real thing where Sylvester Stallone wrote the movie, but he wanted to kickstart his career as an actor. So whenever he would try to sell it to people, they would make big offers, but his one condition was, I play Rocky, and which caused many people to pass on it. And eventually got a $1 million budget that they made and turned it into this phenomenon and Best Picture winner. It's a great story. Mm-hmm. And I'm really looking forward to it. Now, Peter Farrelly being the director is a bit interesting, I'll say.
I'll tell you what, when this news came out, I looked up, I'm like, I know that name. Mm-hmm. And then I looked at this list of things he's directed. This man's career makes no sense to me. No sense whatsoever. In no particular order, this man has directed The Heartbreak Kid, Fever Pitch, the Three Stooges remake that came out like 10, 15 years ago, Dumb and Dumber 2, most recently Ricky Stenicki with John Cena, and Best Picture winner, Green Book.
Yep. And a lot of these he made with his brother. I believe his brother's name is Bobby as well. Mm-hmm. But, look, you can't really pick and choose careers. It's some people make it look easy, like Nolan, Villeneuve, and everything. But what I will say, most of the movies on that list are good, even if they're radically different. Like Dumb and Dumber is one of the best comedies ever made.
No, I'm not saying that those movies aren't bad. I just say they're fundamentally different movies than like the drama about the making of Rocky and Green Book.
Yeah. And what I will say is, while Green Book gets a lot of shit, it's a very good movie. Mm-hmm. And should it have won Best Picture? Up for debate. But it is a good movie. Mm-hmm. The only problem with Green Book is that it can be just very kind of paint by the numbers, check this box. And I hope that this story...
That Rocky story isn't just that.
Just that, yeah. Like not a typical kind of biopic. Because it is a very interesting story. Mm-hmm. And it, if told right, could be exceptionally well made. So like, don't get me wrong, I'm not counting this movie out for the count. Huh? But I think it has a chance to be really good. I just think, if anyone had reservations about it, I also don't blame them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There's no casting of Rocky currently.
Right?
No,
this is in the very, very early stages. Mm-hmm. So yeah, what do you guys think about Peter Farrelly making a film about the making of Rocky? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our main topic story of the day. And Nicholas, what do you got for us now?
Our main topic comes to us from The Hollywood Reporter. That is that Marvel's Fantastic Four has rounded out their cast. Namely, we have a Galactus. That is Ralph Ineson.
Yes. Yes. However you pronounce it. I'm going to say Innocent, and if I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
I'll go with Ineson.
Yeah. But yeah, no, so it's been speculated for quite some time that Galactus could be the villain of this film, and it is officially confirmed, and I'm going to take from the Hollywood Reporter now. The Fantastic Four, meet your villain. Ralph Ineson, the British actor whose 3-decade career ranges from the Harry Potter movies to the recent horror prequel The First Omen, has landed the plum part of Galactus, the antagonist for Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four. The high-profile, big-budget outing of the Fantastic Four's first under the Marvel Cinematic Universe umbrella has been casting up in recent weeks ahead of the planned midsummer shoot in England. Innocent is said to be playing Galactus, an intergalactic being who eats the life force of planets, and now he just picked the wrong place to nosh on. Dude, fuck yeah, I love Galactus. This is going to be so much fun. And I think it's great casting. It is great casting. I think he's going to do a wonderful job.
I mean, he has always been hey, one of those guys.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, oh, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But man, when you hear him speak, just look up any interview with him or just him speaking.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, that's Galactus.
It's a very powerful voice. And while they're not going to probably do the fucking cloud that eats planets like the old Fantastic Four movie did, I do think that it's going to be a mostly motion capture CG type of role.
Well, I can imagine it being sort of like celestial scale.
Yes, yes. Yeah. But his voice definitely being the lead presence. Yes. And as you mentioned, the voice on him, amazing. So this excites me greatly. I cannot wait for this movie.
Well, what excites me most about it, too, is I think that lately Marvel's sort of had this issue where they're really targeting these A-list actors that they get, and then you get them for one thing, and then it's kind of like, when are we even going to see him again? You know, yeah. Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight. Mm-hmm. Charlize Theron was at the end of Doctor Strange, too, you know. So it's definitely an interesting approach to take someone who has a prolific career in this sense, but wouldn't necessarily be like a household name or like instantly recognizable.
Yeah.
And then when you think of now, okay, Galactus is a huge Marvel villain, it's great to see a role of that size and scale coming up to it, because I think also like when Marvel does that, you usually get some of the best performances. Like I think the guy who played the High Evolutionary in Guardians 3 was great, and James Gunn has spoken. He was like, "Oh, Marvel wanted me to pick so many people," and he was like, "But he was the best."
Yeah, and to your point, when you cast a big movie star in roles like that, they're very expensive, and we're already seeing a huge trend in Hollywood, not just with Marvel, but like a ton of blockbusters that they spend all this fucking money and they are not getting it back. Like, blockbusters are a risk again, how they kind of used to be pre-2010s. And when you try to make everything a blockbuster, none of them are. And people are kind of learning that again in Hollywood. And so by casting people who aren't as, you know, A-list named per se, you are saving money on that end. You're still going to have to pay a pretty penny, don't get me wrong. But, you know, he is a lot cheaper than Javier Bardem was a name I heard for like this role, like in the movie space, like
especially coming off of Dune,
like that would have been very expensive, you know. And so, you know, it's a great choice. He's a great actor. I think this is going to be really great.
Well, what I'd be curious about too is how big of the role he'll be. Like, I wonder if it'll be kind of like a Thanos situation where you kind of get the heralds of him. You know, like maybe the Silver Surfer or Surfers. I don't know if they were confirmed if there was going to be a second one or not. You know, are kind of the main antagonists of the movie, but then they get defeated and go sulking back to Galactus or whatever be it. But with the article also, there are some other additions to the cast.
Go on.
That were announced, and that was Paul Walter Hauser, who we have spoken about
a lot on this show.
Frequently.
His agent is crushing it.
His agent is crushing it, has joined the cast as in an undisclosed role, as has John Malkovich, which I'm a big fan of.
Oh, yeah.
I love John Malkovich. And both also in an undisclosed role. Under Paul Walter Hauser's name, they said many have theorized he could be Mole Man or their robot sort of butler, Herbie.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think either of those actors could be either of them.
Yeah. No, it's... And also going to that, can I give you my theory about the movie?
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been confirmed. It's pretty well known that this movie does not take place in the main MCU, like 616 or 19999, however you want to describe it. I think Galactus is going to fucking win and just straight up eat the world that they live on, and they have to evacuate, and what they do is they just end up in the MCU.
Do you think that they're on another planet in the MCU?
No.
Like a Earth 2? Or do you think it's a multiverse?
I think they have to escape through the multiverse and like get to the MCU. I think maybe that's how they do it. That's just a theory, but that could be interesting.
I hope John Malkovich is just an older version of the main Silver Surfer.
That would be fun. They would never get the rights to do this, but it'd be cool to finally see him as Vulture.
What role would that be in a Fantastic Four movie?
Who cares?
I hope he's the butler. Galactus is coming. Realistically, he's just going to be... he's probably going to be like Sue Storm's dad.
Yeah, probably.
He's going to be something like that.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what do you guys think about Galactus being cast in Fantastic Four? We're fucking moving right along on that movie. Let us know as we move on to our next story. And Nicholas, what do you got for us next?
Our next story comes to us from Variety, and that is Warner Brothers is set to release a new Lord of the Rings movie titled The Hunt for Gollum in 2026.
Yes, I'm going to take this from Variety. Original Lord of the Rings trilogy filmmaker Peter Jackson and his partners Fran Walsh and Philippa Boyens are producing the movie and will be involved every step of the way, in quotes. Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav said in an earnings call on Thursday. The project is currently in the early stages of script development from writers Walsh and Boyens, along with Phoebe Gittins and Artie Papagorgiou. Sorry if I said that wrong. Papagorgiou. And will explore storylines yet to be told, Zaslav said, as if he fucking knows. In a press release from Warner Brothers later Thursday morning, the studio revealed that the working title for the film is Lord of the Rings: The Hunt for Gollum, and it will not be directed. And it will be directed by star Andy Serkis, who will also return to play the part of Gollum. Mm-hmm. A couple things on this. One, I'm very interested, and I will watch this movie. Let's let that be known. Two, ain't no fucking way they hit that 2026 release date. I can tell you that right now. There's no way. Unless they start shooting in January, which, from what it sounds like, they just locked this script, which means they got months of pre-production to do, unless they've been doing pre-production, which it could be possible.
Well, does it have an exact date or just 2026?
2026.
Maybe the back half of 2026.
Maybe.
A lot of CG, though.
But Andy Serkis is not someone, for VFX-wise, to rush something, especially when it's motion capture, which he's like the grandfather of, I do think that it's very exciting that he's directing. He's a great Gollum. I'm not worried about that at all. I'm just going to say it. I enjoyed Venom 2.
Listen, I don't think...
Is it a masterpiece? Of course not. But it knew exactly what it was and it achieved it in spades.
I don't necessarily think of Andy Serkis from the directing standpoint. Like, I don't think of the directing in Venom 2.
Yeah.
As an element of the movie that I liked or disliked, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. But I think what benefited from Venom 2 and with this movie is having someone in the director's helm who understands the actor's side of that process.
Yeah.
It's not to say that someone who can't direct great things like Matt Reeves did those two Planet of the Apes movies that are incredible. But I think someone who's been so involved in this world.
Yeah.
I think Andy Serkis has also done a bunch of audiobooks for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Like, he is in it. He has a great relationship with Peter Jackson, which I think just helps as well. Like, it's not someone distant that's coming in. It's someone it's in their blood. It's like the huge part of their career. I think that speaks to, I think they're going to take their time and the quality with it.
Yeah. Does part of this feel like a cash grab? A little bit for Warner Brothers, just because Zaza famously was like, why are we not making any movies of our top franchises, Superman, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, But if you're going to get someone to do your cash grab, get someone who, like you said, has a respect for the material, knows what they're doing, and from a directing standpoint and an acting standpoint, has that visual effects experience, who will make sure it looks good. Because something that the Lord of the Rings movies really pride themselves on is, despite coming out over 20 years ago, they look fantastic. And, that's something that they take very seriously, Peter Jackson and company, I'm sure. So before they put their names on this, they're going to want to make sure it looks good.
Involvement with Rings of Power. I haven't seen that, but I know that got a lot of mixed reviews.
I don't think he's involved on it. Maybe as a brief consultant.
Okay.
But
it seems like he's involved on this.
Yeah, he's involved for the earnings call on this. Yeah. But we'll see what that means. It could just be like a Spielberg producing credit,
Yeah.
Where you go to lunch and say, that sounds good, and then they give him a bunch of money.
Yeah, but I think there's a better argument for it with Andy Serkis's name attached.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Andy, as if we were on a first name basis, would not sign up for this if he didn't believe in the material and didn't think he could do it.
Well, it's interesting how quickly they're going back to Lord of the Rings with it because, with that mentality of, why are we not doing stuff with our biggest franchise? You have a Superman movie in development. Great. DC Universe is going off again. Harry Potter, all we got was that they're doing a show. Mm-hmm. But there has not really been any movement on that lately in terms of anything. But Lord of the Rings, they already had Rings of Power Season 1. I think Season 2, a trailer is coming out this week. May have already come out. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they have an animated movie coming out at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. So Lord of the Rings, they are pumping out.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see.
Yeah, and to the Harry Potter point, just to throw it out there, they need to figure out a way to legally get rid of J.K. Rowling running that show. Yeah, and it doesn't even have anything to do with the political mess that she creates, but it is insane that an author of the book gets literally so much say, both in not just the movies but the theme parks too. She still has a say in that stuff. It's not just Warner Brothers, Yeah. And if you were faced with the decision, hey, the original 3, Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, say they will do a new Harry Potter movie if J.K. Rowling's not involved, what decision do you make? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But the thing is, she's got it so well in her contract, it's going to be almost impossible to do.
Because they have the book, what is it, Cursed Child?
Yeah.
Just sitting
Honestly,
there.
fuck Cursed Child. Imagine if, hey, new one. Mm-hmm. Even if people were about, everyone's going to go. Everyone's going to go. Yeah. As soon as you see a trailer with the 3 of them, everyone's going.
That's fair.
I don't know. I feel like if I was Warner Brothers, I would hire a very good lawyer and just figure out how do we get her out of this. Yeah. Just help me out.
It's hey, you take a week.
Yeah.
Read this. Is it possible?
We'll give you a bunch of money if you just figure this out. But anyway, off topic. What do you guys think of Andy Serkis directing The Hunt for Gollum for Warner Brothers in the Lord of the Rings universe? Let us know as we move on to our final news story topic of the day. And Nicholas, what do you got for us?
Our last story comes to us from Deadline. A streaming milestone has occurred, and that is that Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery team on bundle featuring Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max. Long story short, cable's back.
Cable is back and better than ever. The streaming wars have now begun the streaming treaties. Mm-hmm. This is a very unique situation. I can't wait for the documentary about the streaming wars if I don't make it. I'm far too lazy and I don't have money. Someone else please do it. I will watch it. But anyway, I'm going to pull from Deadline here. Disney and Warner Brothers Discovery are breaking ground on a new streaming with a bundle offering for Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max. The companies are aiming to launch this bundle this summer. The exact launch date and the price point have not been announced. It won't be that cheap, but it'll be a good deal probably. But plans call for both ad-free and ad-supported versions to be available. The move creates the first cross-company partnership for any of the top-tier services to come to market as the race to catch up with Netflix began in earnest about 5 years ago. The article goes on to talk about how streaming's biggest enemy is churn, meaning it's people who sign up for a show and then cancel.
Yep.
And
then Mandalorian sign up has and cancel. New season.
Yeah. And they think that this bundle might help prevent that. Look, this whole thing just goes to show that streaming was a mistake. It was great for viewing purposes. It's literally changed habits of how people watch things. Mm-hmm. And
for better or worse.
For better or worse. And the problem is it wasn't sustainable, and the corporate FOMO, again, I go back to that phrase every time we talk about streaming. It fascinates me how so many dumb decisions were made just because they wanted a streaming service too. It literally blows my fucking mind. But the fact that these two major media companies are coming together is not nothing. This is a big fucking deal. Disney and Warner Brothers working together. Avengers versus Justice League confirmed. Please don't run with that. But basically, these two companies working together is a big deal.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's for the streaming service, this is nothing to sneeze at. And this could be the beginning of many potential partnerships, maybe even buyouts with Paramount being sold soon. So what are your thoughts on this bundle deal? And, do you think it could be successful?
I mean, it's definitely an interesting take. My concern is, as someone who only pays for Hulu on this list and uses someone else's Max, and then
Wonder who that is.
and then someone else's Disney Plus. That one's not you.
Yes, not me.
You know, is it going to be combined in one app and these individual ones are going to be going away? Because honestly, if it was all in one app and I could just click one and have Disney Hulu
That would
Max
be
all on there,
revolutionary.
I would cancel my Hulu. I would log off of it. I would buy my own subscription for this.
Yeah.
For that ease of it, as opposed to piecemealing it across different apps. I don't even want to say it's exciting because it's just dumb that we're at this point.
Yeah.
Streaming it's just too much.
It is, but at the same time, you know, cable has come full circle, like you said earlier, and I'm just amazed that it was allowed to get this far. You know, like I'm wondering the benefits. Like the film business part of me is like, how does the ad money work? Like who gets what ads? Like, because I'm sure any deals that Max made with advertisers was not in the contract of like, oh, we might merge with Disney Plus on a bundle, and like that would be interesting.
And they're like, oh, that ad just went up.
Yeah, and like I'm curious too, like as someone who has Disney Plus and Max, am I going to log in one day and they're like, connect your accounts for this price, or like how does that work? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, like that would be interesting.
And
to
you don't
see.
have Hulu, so then how does that play into it?
Yeah. It's, you know, because I don't want to lose all my shit, all my lists and my liked media. I want it all to stay the same. So, you know.
What, Disney's what, like 15?
Something like that.
Do you know what Max is off the top
I think
of your
it's
head?
25.
Max is 25?
Maybe 18. Dude, I pay for the year and just don't look back.
Well, that's what I mean. So, like, if they offer this platform for like $30, that's not terrible.
Oh, yeah, it's not terrible at all. Not at all. I think it might be a little bit more than that, especially for ad-free.
Oh, ad-free.
But,
I was talking just base ads.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. But, I mean, yeah. Look, I definitely see the pros, at least from a consumer perspective. From a company perspective, that's a bit interesting to think about. But this is a huge deal. Make no mistake. This is a major deal of these two companies forming like a streaming alliance together. It's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be curious where it keeps going, you know, because you also had Paramount Plus and Showtime.
Yeah,
did that a while back, but now
that was just because Paramount bought Showtime.
Exactly, and now someone else is buying Paramount. So what's going to happen there? You know, like are they just going to abolish it? Just give all the content to the highest bidder, Netflix or something? I don't know.
Who's to say?
Because I mean, there's so many different other streaming services out there too.
Yeah.
Except for Sony.
What do you guys think about Disney Plus, Hulu, and Max combining into one bundle that'll be available this summer? Let us know in the comments as we move on to our next thing, which is just a little thing called the box office.
The box office.
Nicholas.
Yes.
Do you have our predictions from last week?
Oh boy, do I.
Go on.
All right. Dalton, you had Monkey versus Lizard, number 1. No, Planet of the Apes Monkey.
Monkey has different code names here.
There's 2 different monkey. You had regular monkey, number 1. Fall Guy, number 2. Challengers, number 3. Tarot, number 4. Phantom Menace, number 5. I had regular monkey, number 1. Fall Guy, number 2. Challengers, number 3. Monkey Lizard, number 4. And then Phantom Menace, number 5.
We were both off by 1. I was off in direct placement. You were off a little bit in placement.
Mm-hmm.
Remember how I made that bold prediction with Phantom Menace going second last time?
Yeah.
I was very wrong about Phantom Menace this time. We knew it would have a big drop.
Yeah.
But it all came down to the actual specifics. Mm-hmm. So coming in first was Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, which made $58 million opening weekend. Great job for them.
Ape together strong.
Yep. The Fall Guy came in second with $13.6 million, a 51% drop, so standard drop. Hopefully you can stay in there with word of mouth. Challengers came in number 3, making another $4.3 million, a 42% drop from week 2 to week 3. Tarot came in fourth with a 48% drop, making $3.4 million in week 2. And coming in fifth was Lizard Monkey, Godzilla x Kong New Empire, making $2.6 million in week 7. Missed it by that much. Phantom Menace had an 84% drop.
Oh, boy.
But I mean, it's like we said, everyone who was going to see that watched it then.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the numbers a little bit more here. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes now has $131 million worldwide if you include their international grosses. And I believe it was made on a budget of 160, 165, if I'm not mistaken.
Something around there.
So, not quite to the budget, but I think it will definitely end up being a successful film for them, and it's very good. The Fall Guy now has $103 million worldwide on a budget of 125. So it's about 0.8 to that budget. I think it will end up being a money loser, but it won't be a complete disaster, as long as it keeps staying in the top 5 over the next few weeks. Mm-hmm. Challengers has made $68 million worldwide on a budget of 55. So it's about almost 1.5. It's about 1.2 right now. Again, might be a slight money loser just because I know they spent money marketing this movie, but it won't be a complete disaster either. Should have made more though. Tarot now has $20 million worldwide. I believe the budget was like 12, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. So it's almost at double. Has a little bit more to go if it wants to see profitability, but with how bad the reviews have been, this is actually not bad news for the amount of money that it's made.
Not bad. Not a total loss.
Godzilla Kong, where to begin? $558 million worldwide.
Hell yeah.
Has made 4.1 times that $135 million budget. Killing it. Diving in a little bit more here, Unsung Hero, that movie that kind of came out of nowhere a few weeks ago, has $17 million domestic. It hasn't opened internationally on a budget of 6. So it made 2.8 times that budget back. That's profitable all the way.
Oh, yeah.
Kung Fu Panda 4 now has $529 million worldwide. Good Lord for that movie.
It's pretty good.
Civil War now has $103 million worldwide on a budget of 50. So it's made 2.1. It's just probably going to come shy of that 2.5, but with A24, I'm sure they're not too pissed about that, considering it was their most expensive movie, but it has made over $100 million worldwide.
Yeah, at least they're getting their production, even if it breaks even, it was still... Like...
I believe it's only the second film to ever do that for A24. Phantom Menace was 9th, and then 10th was Abigail, which is now at $37 million worldwide. So I think it might fall a little bit short of where it needed to make profitability, which is a shame because it was a fun movie.
It was fun.
Lastly, I'll just go on number 11 here. That's Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. 198. It's just shy of that 200 million, but even then they would have needed probably 250 to break even since it was made for around 100. So, it will end up being a slight money loser, but if it gets to that 200, if it gets 2 more million, they wouldn't be too upset about that. Mm. But yeah, that's the box office this week. Any notes on your end? Anything to point out?
No. I don't know. You've never thrown to me like that before. I was unprepared.
Listen, I'm sorry, but
no, I mean, it's definitely great to see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes taking off like that. It definitely shows that there's still a lot of life in this franchise and a lot of support and love for it.
100%.
Which I think is pretty cool.
Yes. Let's do predictions for next week, and I'm going to go gnarly on mine, dude.
Brother, same. You go first.
Coming in first next week will be If.
Okay.
Because I think Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is going to drop about 50%, which will put it maybe at around 30. I think If it's going to open to around 35, maybe 40.
Okay.
Because it's a kid's movie. It's got big movie stars in it, which the concept of the movie star is dead, but Ryan Reynolds is almost an exception if you look at his past films. So If number 1. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes number 2.
Okay.
Fall Guy number 3. Challengers number 4. Fuck it, I'll go Tarot number 5.
All right. I would like to point out that Back to Black comes out this week.
I don't know if it's wide.
No? I thought I saw it on AMC.
No, but I don't know if it...
Oh, gotcha. Well, also The Strangers.
Does The Strangers come out that weekend?
Yeah.
I'd like to change my answer.
I think it was on... Hold on. Let me confirm with AMC real quick. Now, how can I determine if it's wide release or not?
Well, I think The Strangers is wide.
Yeah. No, I meant for Back to Black.
Oh, look at a small town and see if it's playing in that theater.
I only have A-list and Altamont.
Yeah.
Listed.
Is it playing at Altamont?
Oh, no, I meant I just have those set as my favorite theaters. Let's see. Thursday, Tarot, Poolman. Kingdom, Fall Guy, Challengers, Spider-Man 2, Godzilla, Civil War, Abigail, Dune, Back to Black, and The Strangers, and The Blue Angels.
Fuck. All right, I'm gonna change my answer. I don't think Back to Black is gonna make a huge Dig, because I'm not even sure how many theaters it's opening in. Strangers is going to do money. So I'm going to put Strangers in fourth.
Fourth with swapping challengers.
Yeah, but I'll put Challengers fifth.
What did Fall Guy make?
Made 13 this weekend.
Okay. And Challengers made
4.
Okay. I'm going to go If.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. I'm going to go Strangers.
That's probably the smarter move.
Fall Guy made 13. I'm going to go Fall Guy. And I'm going to go Back to Black.
Damn. All right. I predict Fall Guy doing a very small drop, like maybe 30.
Mm-hmm.
Doing like 9. And I think Strangers might open a little bit over that because horror does really well.
Yeah.
But I also think that for whatever reason, they're doing like 3 of these Stranger movies back to back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And there has not been that much marketing for it.
No, I think I've seen one trailer.
Yeah, so we'll see. This is going to be interesting. This box office will be interesting.
It will be.
Now, dude, if Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes holds, that'd be insane.
It's what, 15, 20?
Yeah. I think If is definitely clearing that. Personally.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think it's gotten some decent reviews early.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but they're not screening it.
They're not screening it.
Yeah. So
that's the interesting part.
We'll see. We'll certainly see. Be on the lookout for our out of the theater reaction to If when we go watch it.
Mm-hmm.
That is it for today's show. Do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think that about covers it. As always, you can find links to the audio version of the show as well in the description.
Yes, and you can also look in the description to see all the articles where we do our news stories from and the final box office numbers. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.